My name is Terrence, I am 66 years old, and my daughter Maya just kicked me out of her wedding. Get out of here and don't come back. Dad, she hissed, her voice a low, sharp whisper that cut through the lobby's polite music. You're ruining the atmosphere. I didn't say a word. I didn't get angry. I just smiled. A strange, cold calm settled over me. All right, I said, my voice suddenly steady. In that case, you probably won't be needing this. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the thick cream envelope I'd been carrying, and tore it right in half. What happened next? Well, let's just say the loudest scream didn't come from the bride. It all started 45 minutes earlier. I was standing in the main lobby of the St. Regis Hotel in Buckhead, Atlanta. This place wasn't built for men like me. It was all polished marble gold leaf trim and the kind of expensive silence that makes you feel loud just by breathing. I could hear a string quartet playing from the main ballroom. It sounded thin and reedy like trapped birds. I was wearing my best suit, feeling every bit the out-of-place retired electrical engineer. I was surrounded by people who looked like they were born in tuxedos. The ballroom doors burst open, and it wasn't a guest. It was Maya. Her face wasn't the glowing face of a happy bride. It was red tight with a fury that made her $20,000 white dress look like a suit of armor. Dad, what in the hell are you doing out here? Ryan, her new husband-to-be, hurried out behind her. He's this slick 30-something white guy, an investment broker who always looks like he just stepped out of a magazine. His hand was hovering near her elbow like he was afraid to actually touch her. Maya, honey, calm down, he whispered, glancing around. The guests are looking. I don't care, she snapped, pulling her arm away. I told you specifically. Wait in the side lounge, Ryan's mother is watching. All of his guests are watching. I tried to find my footing. I felt like a man sinking in soft mud. I just wanted to see you, I said, to congratulate you before everything started. Congratulate me? She let out a short, ugly laugh. You're embarrassing me. Her eyes raked over me from my polished shoes to my graying hair. And that look. It wasn't disappointment. It was pure, unfiltered disgust. What is that? She pointed at my chest. Ryan's mother was right. That suit, it's pathetic. My throat tightened. It's old, Dad. It's shiny. It's ruining the color palette. You look like the Help. Ryan jumped in, flashing that fake $1 million smile he uses to close deals. Mrs. Adler, she's just very particular, Terrence, about the photos. The aesthetic, you know, we just want everything perfect. Particular? Maya scoffed, her voice rising. She said you look like a burden, like someone we should hide in the back. And she's right. A burden. That word hit me like a physical blow. Me, Terrence, 66 years old. I worked 40 years for Georgia Power, 40 years of climbing poles in ice storms, of double shifts in the blistering heat of coming home with grease under my nails that would never fully wash out. I worked those doubles to pay for her ballet lessons. I sold my 19-foot bass boat, my one prized possession, the one thing that was just for me to fund her study abroad trip to Europe after she graduated college. I was the one who held her right on the steps of our little house in Collier Heights when her high school boyfriend broke her heart. And now, standing on marble floors I paid for, I was a burden. I looked past Maya through the tall open doors. I saw her, Mrs. Adler, Ryan's mother. A tall, thin, platinum blonde woman in a silver dress that probably cost more than my first car. She was sipping champagne, staring right at us. Her face held no embarrassment, just cold, casual contempt, like she was watching the staff deal with a spill. She caught my eye. And then slowly, deliberately, she turned her back on me. That single silent gesture told me everything. I wasn't family. I wasn't even a guest. I was a problem, a stain on their perfect, expensive white picture. That suit, Maya was saying again, her voice shaking with frustration. I can't have you in the main family photos looking like that. It's just, no. This suit, it wasn't just a suit. It was wool and silk charcoal gray. My late wife Nina had bought it for me almost a decade ago. She'd saved up for it from her part-time job at the library. It makes you look distinguished, T. She'd set her hands warm as she straightened the tie. Like a professor. I had only worn this suit twice before. Once to our 35th anniversary dinner at a restaurant I couldn't really afford, and a second time 5 years ago. I wore it to bury Nina. I wore it as I stood by her graveside, my hand holding Maya's as she sobbed into my shoulder. Maya knew. She had to know. Her memory couldn't be that short. But as I looked at her cold, hard eyes, I realized the awful truth. She hadn't forgotten. She had just decided it didn't matter. The string quartet, the expensive flowers, the approval of her new, rich white mother-in-law. All of it mattered more than the memory of her own mother. Maya took a deep, steadying breath, trying to pull the composed bride back onto her face. But when she spoke, her voice was even colder. "Go home, Dad." My voice was barely a whisper. "Maya." "No." She looked right through me. "I'm asking you. Please. Don't ruin my perfect day. Just go." Tears hot and real started to well up in her eyes. But they weren't tears of sadness or regret. They were tears of pure childish frustration. I was a problem. I was a broken toy. I was an inconvenience that was holding up her party, and that's when it happened. The anger that had been simmering in my chest for months. The hurt. The shame. It didn't explode. It vanished. It crystallized. Like water freezing into ice. Sharp, cold, and perfectly blindingly clear. The fog I had been living in for 30 years, the fog of unconditional love, of endless blind sacrifice, it just burned away under the harsh lights of that lobby. I wasn't looking at my baby girl anymore. I was looking at a 30-year-old woman, a stranger who was making a choice, and she wasn't choosing me. So I smiled. It was a real smile. A smile of relief. "All right, Maya." The sudden change in my tone, the lack of begging, threw her off. "Dad." I didn't say another word. I just reached into the inside pocket of my pathetic old suit. I pulled out a thick cream-colored envelope. "In that case," I said, my voice perfectly even, almost conversational, "this wedding gift, I guess you won't be needing it." Her eyes widened. "Dad, don't be dramatic. I don't mean it like that. But Ryan..." Ryan's reaction was the one that told the real story. He didn't just look shocked. He went white. A sick, papery white. Like all the blood had just drained from his face. He actually lunged forward, his hand outstretched, not for Maya, but for the envelope. "Terrence." He stammered, that slick broker smile completely gone, replaced by raw, naked panic. Wait. Let's talk about this." "R.I.P." I tore the envelope open, fast and clean. Inside, a single folded piece of paper, a cashier's check. "R.I.P., R.I.P., R.I.P." I tore it into quarters, then into eighths. The small, pale blue pieces of paper fluttered down like dead confetti, landing on the expensive Persian rug. "Dad, what did you do?" Maya whispered. Her anger was gone, replaced by a new creeping dread. I let the last pieces fall from my fingers. I brushed my hands together, a simple final gesture. "Good luck with your new life, daughter." I turned my back. The string quartet had stopped. The entire lobby was silent. I walked through the heavy glass doors toward the elevators. I didn't run. I walked. And that's when I heard it. A scream. It wasn't Maya. It was Ryan. A desperate, guttural "no." It wasn't the sound of an insulted groom. It was the sound of a man who had just watched his lifeline get cut. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside. The polished brass doors slid shut, reflecting an old man in an old suit finally standing up straight. I pulled my old 2010 Ford F-150 out of the St. Regis parking garage. The rumble of the V8 engine was a deep, honest sound in the concrete tunnel. It was a real sound. Not like that thin, reedy string music. Not like that awful, desperate scream. Ryan's scream. It was still echoing in my ears, cutting through the low thrum of my truck. My hands were steady on the worn leather of the steering wheel. I'd held this wheel for 15 years. It felt solid. It felt like me. I merged into the afternoon traffic on Peachtree Road, surrounded by brand new Mercedes and Porsches. I just kept driving. My mind was quiet. Too quiet. It felt like the air after a lightning strike, that sharp electric stillness. And then the question hit me, not in a panic, but just as a simple, clear fact. What did I just do? What did I just do? I just walked away from my only daughter's wedding. I just tore up a cashier's check. My mind replayed the motion, my hands ripping that stiff, important paper into pieces, the blue and white confetti fluttering onto that $1,000 rug, $100,000. That wasn't just a number, it was the last of Nina's life insurance. It was the last of our plan. It was the money for the scholarship I was going to set up in her name. $100,000. Gone. Just gone in an instant of, what was it, anger? No. I've been angry before. Anger is hot. This was cold. This was clarity. I drove past the fancy storefronts of Buckhead, the women with their perfect hair and tiny dogs, the men in suits that cost more than my mortgage payment. I'd lived in Atlanta my whole life, but this part of town always felt like a foreign country. A country my daughter had desperately wanted to be a citizen of, and I'd just torn up her passport. Why? Why did I do it? My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad. Not yet. I just felt empty. And in that emptiness, a new thought began to form. It didn't start today. It didn't start with the suit or the insults from Mrs. Adler. This started a long time ago. I just hadn't been willing to see it. My name is Terrence. I'm 66 years old. For 40 years, I was an electrical engineer with Georgia Power. I want to be clear. I am not a rich man. I never played the stock market. I never flipped a house or chased some get-rich-quick idea. I am a disciplined man. I believe in showing up on time. I believe in putting in the full 8 hours and then some. I believe in paying your bills the day they arrive, not the day they are due. I believe in a firm handshake and looking a man square in the eye. For 4 decades, I climbed utility poles in ice storms so thick you couldn't see your own hands in front of your face. I worked in substations in the middle of August that were so hot you'd swear you were standing on the surface of the sun. I did it. I did it every day. Because that's what a man does. You provide, you build a life, you make a safe place for your family. My hands are still rough, still calloused, even 5 years into retirement. They are a map of every power line I spliced, every transformer I fixed. I don't own a Rolex watch. I own a small brick house in Collier Heights, a good solid neighborhood. A house that I paid off 7 years early. I own that truck I'm driving. It's paid for. I was a man who knew exactly who he was. And the center of that life, the person who held all the pieces together, the foundation under my feet, that was my wife, Nina. Nina passed 5 years ago. Ovarian cancer. It was fast. It was brutal. One day she was in the kitchen with me arguing about how much salt I was putting in the collard greens. And 6 months later, I was standing in a packed church wearing this very suit, trying to remember how to breathe. Nina was the smart one. I was the saver, the mule. But she was the planner. She was the one who handled our small investments, who balanced the checkbook down to the exact penny. She saw the world for what it was, not just what I wanted it to be. We had a plan. It was a simple plan. We weren't going to buy a yacht and sail the world. We were going to buy a used Winnebago, a good one with low mileage, and we were going to see the country. We were going to see the Grand Canyon. I'm 66 years old, born and raised in Atlanta, and I've never seen the Grand Canyon. Nina always wanted to go to Yellowstone to see the geysers. We had a map on our kitchen wall, a big map of the United States with little red pins on all the national parks we were going to visit. 40 years of work, T, she'd say, her hand on my arm. Her hands were always so warm. And then it's just us, just you and me and the open road. The money from her life insurance, that $100,000 I just tore up. That wasn't my money. That was our money. That was the Winnebago money. That was the Grand Canyon money. When she was gone, I couldn't bring myself to spend it. The road just didn't seem open anymore. It just seemed empty. So I made a new plan. I'd turn that money into something that would last forever. Something with her name on it, the Nina Washington STEM Scholarship at Morehouse College, my alma mater. For kids like me. Kids from neighborhoods like Collier Heights who had the brains but not the cash. Kids who just needed a chance. That was the plan. But Nina, she was always worried about Maya. She saw the things I was blind to, the things I chose to be blind to. I remember it so clearly. Maya was 16. She needed this expensive prom dress. All her new friends in Buckhead were getting dresses from this fancy boutique. It cost $600. $600 for a dress she would wear one time. I was tired. It had been a long week. I was just about to give in just to have some peace in the house. Nina stopped me. She took me into the kitchen out of earshot. "Terrence," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it was firm like steel. "You are giving that girl everything she wants. You are not teaching her the value of what she needs." I argued with her. I told her I just wanted Maya to be happy. I wanted her to fit in with those rich kids. Nina just shook her head, and her eyes looked so sad. "She will never be happy, T. Not this way. She will never be happy if she is always looking at what other people have. You're teaching her that her worth is in things, in labels. You're not teaching her about the worth that's inside her. You're teaching her to be weak. And one day, Terrence, one day that weakness is going to hurt her. And it's going to hurt you." I didn't listen. I bought the dress, and I just kept on buying. Then about a year ago, Ryan showed up. Maya brought him to my house for Sunday dinner. I'd cooked my famous brisket slow-smoked for 12 hours. Ryan walked in, looked around my living room at Nina's old oak bookshelf at the framed photo of me and my crew from Georgia Power, and he smiled. It was that smooth, bright white smile that never quite reaches the eyes. He was a white guy from Buckhead. Everything about him was polished, from his $500 shoes to his perfectly messy hair. He said he worked for a private equity firm. He kept using words that slid right past me, words like financial leverage, monetizing assets, and optimizing growth. He talked about cryptocurrency. He talked about his ski trips to Aspen and his summer plans in the Hamptons. He ate very little of my brisket. He spent most of the dinner tapping on his phone. Maya, though, she was mesmerized. She hung on his every word. This wasn't the daughter I knew. The daughter I knew loved barbecue stains on her t-shirt and could tell you the stats of every player on the Atlanta Falcons. This new Maya talked about brands. She talked about networking. She suddenly cared about which restaurant was trending on social media. Nina had been right. I had built a house with no foundation, and the first strong wind was blowing it over. 3 months ago, they announced their engagement. I was sitting in my worn-out recliner, the one Nina always complained about when Maya called me. She was breathless, ecstatic. "We're getting married, Dad, and Ryan has the perfect place. It's just a dream." I was happy for her, genuinely. All a father wants is to see his child happy, to see them find a partner. "That's wonderful, baby girl," I said, smiling. "Where is it, that nice church over in Grant Park? Or maybe that botanical garden you always loved?" There was a pause. "Oh, Dad, no, nothing like that. It's the St. Regis, in Buckhead." I almost dropped the phone. The St. Regis. I'd only ever seen it from the outside. It wasn't a hotel. It was a palace, a place for celebrities and old money millionaires. "Maya, honey, that place must cost a fortune." "It does," she squealed, as if that was the best part. "It's the most exclusive venue in Atlanta. Ryan says it's all about the image, Dad. It's about our brand as a couple. His parents are inviting all their friends. These are important people." My stomach tightened. I heard Nina's voice in my head as clear as if she were standing next to me. "You're teaching her that her worth is in things." "Maya," I said, trying to keep my voice gentle. We're not St. Regis people. We're Collier Heights people. We're brisket in the backyard people. Why would you want to start a marriage pretending to be someone you're not?" Her voice changed. The joy vanished, replaced by that sharp defensive edge I'd come to dread. "I'm not pretending. This is who I am, Dad. This is who we are. Ryan's family. They're used to a certain standard. I can't just have a potluck in a church basement. What will they think of me? They already—" She stopped. "They already what, Maya?" I asked, my voice flat. "Nothing." She took a breath. "Look, Ryan says He says the wedding isn't just a party. It's a statement. It's the most important day of my life, and it has to be perfect. It's where all his business partners, all his connections will see us. It has to be right. And right means the St. Regis. Yes. She said, her voice small but stubborn. I sighed. It was the sigh of a man who knew he was fighting a battle he'd already lost decades ago. All right, baby girl. How much? She told me the number, $150,000. Just for the venue, just for the food and the flowers, just for one single day. $150,000. I thought about the Winnebago. I thought about the Grand Canyon. I thought about the faces of those kids at Morehouse who could have had their lives changed. Dad, Maya's voice was nervous now. Are you there? I looked at the map on my kitchen wall at all those little red pins that Nina had pushed in with such hope. Yeah, baby, I said, my voice sounding old and tired to my own ears. I'm here. I'll figure it out. Oh, thank you, Daddy, she cried, the joy flooding back in an instant. You're the best. You won't regret it. It's going to be perfect. I promise. I hung up the phone. I sat there in the silence in my old recliner in my paid-for house, and for the first time since Nina died, I felt truly completely alone. I knew even then that I was paying for something. But it wasn't a wedding. It was an illusion. And the price was far higher than I knew. I sat there in my recliner long after I'd hung up the phone. $150,000. The number just hung in the air. It felt heavy, obscene. It was more than I'd made in my first 10 years at the power company combined. I didn't have that kind of money. Not liquid, not just sitting around. Ryan, with his talk of assets and portfolios, probably thought I was sitting on some dragon's hoard of retirement gold. But I was a union man. I had my pension, I had my 401k, and I had my house. You can't just spend a 401k. Except I did have it. I knew exactly where it was. It was in the high-yield savings account I'd opened 5 years ago. The one I never touched, the one I only looked at when I wanted to feel close to her. The account was titled Nina's Legacy. It was $105,642, the full amount from her life insurance policy plus the interest it had earned. My new plan, the Nina Washington STEM Scholarship. I'd already talked to the dean of admissions at Morehouse. We'd had lunch. I'd told him my idea, a full-ride scholarship every 4 years for one kid from a public high school in our side of Atlanta. A kid who was smart but poor. A kid who just needed a door opened. The dean had been moved. He said it was a beautiful way to honor her. We were supposed to sign the papers next month. $105,000. She needed $150,000. Where was I supposed to get the other $45,000? I'd have to pull it from my 401k. I'd have to take the tax penalty. It would be a huge hit. It would gut my own future, my own safety net. I drove over to her apartment that night, the one Ryan was paying for this glass box in the sky overlooking Piedmont Park. I sat on her white leather sofa, which felt as cold and hard as a block of ice. Maya, baby. I started, my voice sounding rough. We need to talk about this. This cost. $150,000, and that's not just money I have, Maya. It's your mother's money. I explained it all. The life insurance, the promise I'd made to myself, the scholarship. It's to honor her, Maya, to make her name mean something long after we're both gone. I expected, I don't know, understanding sadness, maybe a little shame. I got anger. Her face, which had been glowing, snapped into a tight, ugly mask. Her money. Dad, she's gone. I flinched, like she had slapped me. She's gone, Maya repeated, her voice rising. And I'm here, I'm alive. This isn't a memory, Dad. This is my life. This is my only wedding, the one day that is supposed to be about me. It's not that it's not about you, You just what? She shot back, tears welling up in her eyes. But they weren't the tears I saw at Nina's funeral. These were hot, angry, frustrated tears. You'd rather give that money to some random kid we don't even know than give it to your own daughter for the most important day of her life. She stood up and started pacing, her hands flying. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? Ryan's parents. They're Adlers. They're paying for the rehearsal dinner. They're flying people in from New York, and my dad, My dad is going to cheap out. It's not cheaping out, Maya, it's your mother's. Stop using her, she screamed. The word echoed in the sterile, empty room. She stood in front of me, breathing hard. Stop using her as an excuse. What do you think Mom would really want, for you to build some stone plaque at a college, or for her daughter, her only child, to be happy, to be respected? Her voice cracked on that last word, and that's when I saw it. The real fear. They'll think we're nothing, Dad. She whispered it, now the tears rolling down her cheeks. They already think I'm not good enough. This wedding, this is to show them I belong, that we belong. If you do this, if you say no, you're telling them they're right, that I'm just some poor girl from Collier Heights. Is that what you want? Is that what Mom would have wanted, for me to be ashamed? She had done it. She had taken my love for Nina, my grief for her, and she had twisted it into a weapon. And she was pointing it right at my heart. Nina's voice was in my head. You're teaching her to be weak, Terrence. And in that moment, I failed us both. The string that held me upright. The one tied to Nina's memory, to my own discipline, to everything I thought I stood for. It just snapped. I looked at my daughter, this stranger, crying in her expensive apartment. And I gave in. Okay, I said. My voice was a dead thing. Okay, Maya. The change was instant. The tears stopped. A brilliant, blinding smile burst across her face. Oh my God, really, Daddy? Oh, thank you, thank you. She threw her arms around my neck. I didn't hug her back. I just sat there, my hands at my sides, feeling cold. You won't regret this, she said, pulling back, her eyes shining. It's going to be the most beautiful wedding. You'll see. You'll be so proud. I just nodded. I went to the bank the next morning. I signed the papers to liquidate part of my 401k. I transferred every last cent from Nina's legacy into my checking account. The teller, a nice young woman who always asked about my truck, smiled at me. Looks like you're making a big purchase, Mr. Terrence. I nodded. Yeah, I said, taking the receipt. You could say that. I had sold my wife's memory, and I hadn't even gotten a good price. I paid the money, the $150,000. I walked out of my bank that day feeling hollowed out, like a man who had just sold his own bones. For 3 weeks, I tried not to think about it. I tried to focus on Maya's words. It will be perfect, Daddy. You'll be so proud. I wasn't proud. I was just tired. Tired in my soul. Then 3 weeks before the wedding, I was walking back from the mailbox at the end of my driveway. I was sorting through the usual pile of junk, coupons for pizza I'd never order, the water bill, an ad for a roofing company. And then I saw it. One envelope. It was different. It was made of thick, heavy, cream-colored paper. Expensive paper. The kind of paper that costs $1 a sheet. The return address wasn't a sticker. It was embossed, the letters raised off the page. Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. I stopped right there on my front lawn. Mercedes-Benz, I've driven a Ford F-150 for 15 years. Before that, a Chevy Silverado. Before that, another Ford. I am a truck man. I am an American truck man. I've never owned a German car in my life. I'd never even sat in one. I figured it was just high-class junk mail. A fancy new way to try and sell me a car I couldn't afford and didn't want. But it was addressed directly to me, Terrence, Washington. And in the bottom corner it was stamped, Urgent Immediate Attention Required. I tore it open right there with the sun beating down on my neck. My hands, they were already feeling a little unsteady. The paper inside was just as thick. I unfolded it. My eyes scanned the page, but my brain couldn't make sense of the words. It was like reading a foreign language. Dear Mr. Washington, it began. We regret to inform you that your account is now 60 days past due. My account, a payment of $2,436.09 was due on... I kept reading, confused. Your failure to remit payment, immediate action, risk of repossession. Repossession of what? I scanned down the page looking for the details, and I found them. Vehicle 2024 Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, color obsidian black. A G-Wagon. One of those big, boxy SUVs that all the rappers and basketball players drive. The ones that cost more than my first house. Total loan amount $141, $300. I almost laughed. It was insane. This was a mistake. A complete obvious fraud. They just had the wrong Terrence Washington. I was about to go inside, call the number, and give their fraud department a piece of my mind. And then I saw it. At the bottom of the page in small, clear type. Primary borrower Maya L. Washington. Cosigner Terrence J. Washington. The letterhead shook in my hand. The world tilted. My blood didn't run hot. It went cold, icy, that sharp, painful cold you get when you touch dry ice. Cosigner. I would never cosign for a $140,000 car. I didn't even cosign for Maya's first apartment. I had taught her. I'd sat her down at my kitchen table with her first paycheck and showed her how to build her own credit, how to be responsible, how to stand on her own 2 feet. This was impossible. It was a lie. And then, a memory dark and sticky from about 4 months ago, just before the whole wedding money conversation. Ryan had stopped by my house, unannounced. He was all smiles, carrying a fancy leather briefcase. "Terrence T., just the man I wanted to see," he'd boomed like we were old friends. He'd spread a stack of papers out on my kitchen table right on top of Nina's old tablecloth. "Just some boring insurance paperwork," he'd said. He was so breezy, so casual. "I'm adding Maya to my comprehensive homeowners and auto policy, since we're cohabitating now." He winked like we were in on some joke. "Better rates, but they just need your signature. Just a formality to verify she's, her." I remember I was distracted. I was trying to fix the garbage disposal. My hands were wet and covered in grease. I was tired. I was always tired back then. Nina had been gone for years, but the exhaustion had never really left. He had a fancy, heavy, gold-plated pen. "Just sign here, and one more right here." I'd hesitated. I'd looked at the pages. They were just walls of tiny, dense legal print. The kind of text that's designed not to be read. "You sure this is just for insurance, son?" I'd asked. And he'd laughed, that easy, smooth, white guy laugh. "Absolutely, T. Cross my heart, just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. You know how these lawyers are. They need a signature for everything. It's just combining our policies, saving us money." I had looked at him. I had looked at my greasy hands. I had looked at the mountain of paperwork. And I had trusted him. Or rather, I had trusted Maya. I trusted that my daughter wouldn't bring a snake into my own kitchen, so I'd wiped my hands on a shop rag. I'd picked up his heavy, expensive pen, and I'd signed. I'd signed where he pointed. I'd signed without reading. Standing on my lawn with that overdue notice shaking in my hand, I felt like the biggest fool in all of Georgia. He hadn't just asked me to co-sign. He had tricked me. He had forged my trust. He had used my exhaustion, my grief, my desire for my daughter's happiness. And he had stolen my name. And the date on the loan. It was 4 months ago, before he and Maya ever came to me for the $150,000 for the wedding. This G-Wagon, this wasn't a new problem. This wasn't a little bit of trouble. This was a plan, a long con. I realized with a sickness rising in my throat that the $150,000 for the wedding, it wasn't for a party, it was a bailout. And it wasn't even the first one. I felt sick, truly sick. My daughter was engaged to a professional thief. No, the sickness got worse. The date, the name. My daughter wasn't engaged to a thief. She was his accomplice. I stood there on my lawn under the hot Georgia sun, holding that letter from Mercedes-Benz. The air was thick and humid, hard to breathe. I felt that icy coldness spreading from my chest all the way down to my fingertips. The letter was shaking, but my hand was perfectly still. My first instinct, the instinct of a father for 40 years, was to call Maya, to drive over to her apartment, to demand an explanation, to yell, to plead, to hear her cry and tell me it was all a big misunderstanding. No, that's what the old Terrence would have done. The Terrence who bought the $600 prom dress. The Terrence who signed away Nina's legacy for a party. That Terrence was a fool. That Terrence was weak. And that Terrence, as of this exact moment, was gone. I didn't call Maya. I didn't call Ryan. I didn't march over there and start a fight I couldn't win. Nina's voice was in my head again. Not the sad warning voice. This time it was the voice of the planner. The voice of the woman who balanced the checkbook to the penny. Don't get emotional, Terrence. Get smart. I folded the letter, put it in my back pocket, and went inside. I sat down at my kitchen table, the one where I'd been tricked, and I picked up my phone. I didn't call Maya. I called Andre. Andre is my best friend. We've known each other since we were 19, working our first summer job together at a bottling plant. He's a different kind of man than me. I worked with my hands. Andre worked with numbers. He was a certified public accountant, a CPA for 35 years. Retired now, just like me. Andre is the sharpest, most cynical, most loyal man I have ever known. He's the guy who can look at a tax return and tell you not just how much you paid, but what you ate for breakfast on the day you filed it. He sees everything. He picked up on the second ring. T, what's happening, old man? Don't tell me your garbage disposal is broken again. Andre, I said. My voice was low, flat. I need you to do something for me. Off the books. Just quiet. The friendly, joking tone in his voice vanished. Instantly. What is it, T? You sound bad. I need you to check on someone for me. Check on, like, are they okay? Check on, no, I said. Like, who the hell are they check on? I need you to run the numbers. I need you to dig. I need you to find everything. Who's the person? His name is Ryan, I said. Ryan Adler. He's Maya's fiancé. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Andre has known Maya since she was born. He's Uncle Andre. He's the one who taught her how to ride a bike. All right, T, he said, his voice now all business. Spell the last name, and give me his full name if you have it, and anything else, where he says he works. Anything. I gave him everything I had, the name of the private equity firm, the Buckhead address. Everything. Okay, Andre said. I've got some old databases I still have access to. I'll make some calls. Don't do anything, T. Don't talk to Maya. Don't talk to him. Just sit tight. I'll call you as soon as I have something. I sat at that kitchen table for the rest of the day. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't make dinner. I just sat, waiting. The sun went down. The house got dark. At 9:30, my phone finally rang. It was Andre. T. I'm here. You sitting down, T. I am. I heard him take a deep breath. A long, heavy sigh. T. This boy, he's not just a problem. He's a Category 5 hurricane. He's a dumpster fire. He's poison. I closed my eyes. Just tell me. Okay, Andre said. First, in that private equity firm, he said he worked for Adler Capital Partners. It doesn't exist. It's a shell. It's a website. He paid someone $50 to build in India. It's registered to a P.O. box in Delaware that was closed 6 months ago for non-payment. My stomach turned over. He used to be a broker, a real licensed broker, at a big firm, Morgan Stanley. He was fired 8 months ago. Fired for what? For unauthorized high-risk trading using client funds. That's the official term. The real term, T, is stealing. He's been under investigation by FINRA. That's the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. They barred him, T, indefinitely. He's not allowed to trade a stick of gum, let alone manage other people's money. He's done. My God. It gets worse, Andre said, his voice grim. He's not just broke, T, he's drowning. I did a soft pull on his credit. It's a disaster. He has, 6 maxed out credit cards. Judgments against him from 3 different landlords in Buckhead for non-payment of rent. He owes over $200,000 in unsecured debt. 200. And T, this is the bad part. This isn't just credit card debt. This isn't just, I bought too many nice suits. 2 of these loans, they're not from banks. They're from private lenders. The kind of people who don't send you a letter in the mail when you're late. The kind of people who send people. My blood ran cold. That cold, icy feeling. It was back. He's in deep, T, real deep. And the payment on one of those loans, a big one, looks like it's due about 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now. The day of the wedding. I didn't have to say it. Andre said it for me. That $150,000 you paid T. Andre's voice was full of a quiet rage. That wasn't for a wedding. That wasn't for flowers and champagne. It was a payoff, I whispered. It was a payoff, Andre confirmed. He was using your daughter, and he was using you to save his own skin. I looked at the Mercedes-Benz letter still sitting on the table in the dark. Andre, I said, my voice thick. It's worse than that. He got me to co-sign for a G-Wagon. $140,000. He tricked me. He told me it was insurance. There was a long, terrible silence on the other end of the line. When Andre spoke again, his voice was not the voice of a friend. It was the voice of an executioner. No T. He didn't just trick you. He did this with Maya, a car loan for that much, with his credit. It's impossible. He'd need her income, her credit. She was the primary borrower, T. She was the one who sat in that finance office. She knew what you were signing. My daughter, my baby girl. She knew, I said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement, a final hard, cold fact. Yeah, T, Andre said, his voice gentle now. She knew. I'm so sorry. I'm so damn sorry. I hung up the phone. I sat in the dark. The man who had entered that room was gone. The father, the provider, the fool, the man who stood up from that table hours later. He was someone else. He was a man with a new plan, a plan of his own. I drove. I didn't speed. I kept my old truck right at the limit. My hands were steady on the wheel. The Mercedes-Benz letter was in the breast pocket of my work shirt right over my heart. It felt as heavy as a brick. I wasn't driving to my daughter's apartment. I was driving to a crime scene. And my daughter was the chief suspect. I pulled up to the glass tower in Piedmont Park. The valet, a young guy in a red vest, gave my old F-150 a funny look like he'd never seen a vehicle with actual mud on it. I just looked at him. I didn't smile. He took the keys. The elevator was all glass, whisking me up into the sky. I could see the whole city spread out below. A city I'd helped power for 40 years. It all looked so small from up here. I didn't knock. I still had a key from when I helped her move in. I let myself in. The apartment was quiet, and then I heard her humming. She was in the spare bedroom, which she had turned into a dressing room. She was standing in front of a full-length mirror wearing her wedding veil. Just the veil with her jeans and a t-shirt. She was smiling at her reflection, lost in some perfect white fantasy. Maya. She jumped, ripping the veil off her head. Dad, God, you scared me. I didn't hear you come in. What are you doing here? Her smile was bright, but it was brittle, like a thin sheet of ice. I didn't say anything. I just walked past her into the living room with its cold white furniture and its floor-to-ceiling windows. I took the folded letter from my pocket, and I placed it on the glass coffee table in front of her. She looked at it. She saw the Mercedes-Benz logo. Her smile didn't just fade, it shattered. Do you know what that is, Maya? I asked. My voice didn't sound like my own. It sounded calm. It sounded dangerous. Dad, I don't know, she stammered, her hands fluttering. It's just junk mail, right? They send that stuff all the time. Don't, I said. One word. It cut through the air and shut her up. Don't lie to me, Maya. Not anymore. I'm done with the lies. I tapped the paper. It's a 60-day overdue notice for a $141,000 G-Wagon, a car that is 60 days from being repossessed. Her face went pale, that same sick papery white I would later see on Ryan. Oh my God, she whispered. He said he was handling it. He promised me he was handling it. It's just a mix-up, Dad. I swear, he's dealing with it. He's dealing with it, I repeated. I wasn't asking. Is that what he told you because your name, Maya, is listed as the primary borrower, and my name is listed as the co-signer? Her knees gave out. She didn't faint. She just folded. She sank onto that white leather sofa, her head in her hands. No, 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 no. I was wondering how he did it. I went on, my voice still cold, still even. I felt like a surgeon cutting into a wound. I was wondering how he got my signature, and then I remembered. 4 months ago, right at my kitchen table, he called it insurance. She looked up at me, and her face was a total wreck. The mask was gone. The fake bride, the buckhead socialite. It all melted away, and all that was left was a terrified little girl. He made me, she sobbed. Real sobs, the kind that shake your whole body. He said it was just for a little while. He said he just needed it for image. Image, I repeated. The word tasted like poison. $140,000 image. Yes, she cried. He's in a little bit of trouble, Dad. Just some bad investments. It's temporary. He said all his clients, they expect him to look successful. They expect him to drive a certain car, to live in a certain place. He said we needed the car and the apartment just to keep up appearances. Just until his big deal closed, he promised he would sell it before the first payment was even due. His big deal, I said. The one he's been talking about for a year. The one that never seems to close. It's real, she insisted. It's just complicated. So complicated, I said, my voice dropping, that he was fired 8 months ago for stealing from his clients, so complicated that he's being investigated by FINRA, so complicated that he's $200,000 in debt to loan sharks. Her head snapped up. Her sobs stopped. Her face was a mask of pure blank shock. She hadn't known. She hadn't known that. She hadn't known how deep the water was. What are you... I know, Maya, I said, feeling the last bit of my fatherly warmth die. I know everything. I know about the shell company. I know about the debts. I know about the lies. And I know that $150,000 I gave you, that was never for a wedding. She just stared at me, her mouth open, the tears frozen on her face. It was a bailout, wasn't it? I pressed. It was to pay those men, the ones who don't send letters in the mail. She just deflated. All the fight, all the lies just whooshed out of her. Yes, she whispered. It was so quiet I could barely hear it. Yes, he was scared. They were threatening him. They were threatening me, Dad. He said if we didn't get the money, they were going to hurt us. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. You were the only one. I knew you would help. I closed my eyes. The con was complete. It wasn't just about greed. It was about fear. They had used her greed, and then they had used her fear, and they had used my love. I stood there for a long time. The only sound was her crying softly into her hands. I should have felt pity. I should have felt something. I just felt cold. So that's it, I said, picking up the letter. You've told me everything. She looked up, her eyes wide and red. Yes, I promise, Dad. That's everything. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She looked relieved. Relieved that the confession was over. Relieved that the final awful truth was out. But it wasn't. She took a shaky breath. And that's why I waited. That's why, she stammered, looking down at her hands. That's why I need you to not be angry about the other thing. My blood, which was already cold, turned to solid ice. The other thing. The hotel, she whispered. The St. Regis. They called this morning while I was at my fitting. And the $150,000, she said, her voice so small it was barely a breath. It wasn't the total price, Dad. It was just the deposit. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just waited for the final nail. They said Ryan's final check, it bounced. They They need the balance, Dad. She was full on sobbing again, pleading. They need the rest of the money, or they're going to cancel the wedding. They're going to cancel everything. I looked at my daughter the fraudster, my daughter the victim, my daughter the liar. How much, Maya? I asked, my voice as flat and dead as the moon. She squeezed her eyes shut. $100,000, Dad. She opened her eyes, her hands clasped together like she was praying. They need $100,000 by Saturday, or it's all over. I just looked at her. I didn't say a word. The silence in that glass-walled apartment was louder than any screaming. She was on the floor, this ghost of my daughter looking up at me, a total stranger. Daddy, please. She scrambled forward on her knees like a beggar in some old movie. She grabbed my hand. Her skin was cold, clammy. Please, she whispered again, her voice raw from crying. You have to help. I know it's a lot. I know we messed up. It's all my fault. I should have told you. I was just so scared. Ryan just got in over his head. He's a good man, Dad, he is. He made some mistakes. I pulled my hand away. Not violently, just firmly, like taking my hand off a hot stove. He didn't get in over his head, Maya. He's a thief. He's a professional liar, and he made you his accomplice. No, she shrieked, her voice echoing off the glass. It's not like that. He loves me. He trusted the wrong people. But we can fix this. You can fix this. She was clutching at the leg of my jeans now like a drowning woman. Dad, just think about it. What happens if we cancel the wedding? It's in 3 days. 3 days. All of Ryan's family, his mother, they're all flying in tomorrow. From New York, from London. Oh my God, Dad. Her eyes were wide with a new, fresh terror. His mother, she will destroy us. She will ruin me. She already hates me, Dad. I know she does. She thinks I'm not good enough for him. This was the one thing, this wedding, this was my one chance to prove it, to prove I belong. So there it was. Not the loan sharks, not the lies, not the theft, the shame. She was terrified of what they would think. Think of the humiliation, Dad, she cried, the tears flowing freely now. All those people, all our friends, they'll all be there. The St. Regis, they won't just ask us to leave. They'll sue us. They'll call the police. Our names, Dad. There'll be garbage all over Atlanta, all over Buckhead. Ryan's career, my life, it will be over. Just over. She was painting a picture of some high society apocalypse, a picture that to her was worse than death, a picture she knew would horrify her. She assumed it would horrify me. But as I looked down at her, I didn't feel horror. I didn't feel pity. I felt nothing. Just that cold, hard clarity. She hadn't mentioned Nina's name, not once. She hadn't mentioned the scholarship. She hadn't mentioned my 401k, the money I'd earned over 40 years of sweat and ice storms. It was only about her shame, her reputation, her perfect day. Please, Dad, she whispered, her voice completely broken. I know I don't deserve it. I know I've been terrible, but I'm your daughter. I'm your baby girl. You can't just let this happen to me. You can't. I was about to answer her. I was about to tell her. I don't even know what. That it was over. That the bill had finally come due and she would have to pay it. And then, as if on cue, the front door of the apartment opened. In walked Ryan. He was in expensive dark jeans and a black polo shirt that fit him perfectly. It probably cost more than my monthly power bill. He had this look of fake practiced concern on his face. Maya, honey, I heard shouting. Is everything okay? Oh, Terrence. Hey, what a surprise. He saw his fiancée, a sobbing wreck on the floor at my feet. He saw my face, which I'm sure was carved out of granite. He didn't miss a beat. He was a professional. I had to give him that. He rushed over, pulling Maya up from the floor, enveloping her in a hug. "Baby, what's wrong? What happened? Are you okay?" He stroked her hair, his back to me. He knows." Maya sobbed into his expensive shirt. He knows about the hotel. He knows about everything." I saw Ryan's back stiffen, just for a millisecond, a tiny, almost invisible flinch, and then he was all smoothness again. He turned, keeping one arm around Maya, protecting her. What a performance. Terrence, thank God you're here." He ran his free hand through his perfectly messy, expensive hair. I was literally just about to call you. I was on my way to your house. I swear." A lie. He'd never been to my house, not once. "Look," he said, taking a deep man-to-man kind of breath. I know how this looks. I know. And I take full responsibility. All of it. This is 100% on me. Maya, she just got caught in the middle. She was just trying to protect me. She loves me. That's her only crime." He guided Maya to the cold white sofa, then he walked toward me. His hands were open, palms up, the classic posture of a man with nothing to hide. It's a cash flow problem, Terrence. That is all it is. Just the most god-awful, terrible timing in the history of the world. He got closer, lowering his voice like we were partners, like we were in this together. You know my business. Private equity. It's complex. We hunt whales, T. We hunt whales. And sometimes the lines get tangled. I have a massive deal. A tech merger. It's the deal of a lifetime. And it is closing this Monday. Monday, I repeated. My voice was just a flat, dead sound. Yes, Monday, 2 p.m. The wire transfer is already scheduled. We are talking 8 figures, T, 8 figures. He flashed that bright white soulless smile. This 100,000, T, it's a rounding error. It's nothing. But the bank, the damned bank, they've held the funds. Some stupid regulatory red tape. You know how it is. It's infuriating. He dared to put his hand on my shoulder, my old Georgia Power F-150 driving shoulder, and he squeezed it. We just need a bridge, a temporary loan, just to get us over the weekend. From Saturday to Monday, 48 hours. Terrence, the second that wire hits my account on Monday afternoon, the very second, I will transfer you $200,000. He saw something flicker in my eyes. No, he said. I mean it. 200,000 for your trouble, for your trust. You're not just saving a wedding tea. You're saving my life. You're saving her life. Your family. And this is what family does. I just looked at him. I looked at this smooth, polished, desperate liar, this boy, this parasite who was trying to bleed me dry. My silence was making him nervous. His smile was twitching at the edges. He needed to close the deal. He needed the final emotional push. He looked me dead in the eye. His own eyes were brimming with fake, unshed tears. "Terrence," he said, his voice thick with whatever it is con men use instead of emotion. I know I'm just the new guy. I know I haven't earned this. But I love your daughter. I love her more than my own life. I would die for her." He took a shaky, dramatic breath. I will give you that $200,000 on Monday. I swear it. And then he said the last words he would ever say to me. The final fatal lie. I swear it on my sainted mother's grave. I just stared at him. His sainted mother, Mrs. Adler. I had just seen her 3 weeks ago at their engagement brunch at the Buckhead Club. She was standing in the corner complaining that the mimosa was too warm. She looked perfectly, vibrantly, and very rudely alive. He wasn't just a con man. He wasn't just a thief. He was a liar so complete, so pathological that he would bury his own living mother for $100,000. This wasn't a man in trouble. This was a black hole. A black hole that was just about to swallow my daughter. And in that moment, the plan in my mind, which had been foggy, it crystallized. It became as hard and as clear as a diamond. The old Terrence was dead. The new Terrence. He knew exactly what he had to do. I looked at this boy, this parasite, with his hand on my shoulder and his living mother 6 feet under in his lying mouth. I looked at my daughter, her face streaked with tears, watching me with the desperate eyes of a hostage. And I felt that deep, cold, perfect calm. The plan was set. The trap was ready. All I had to do was bait it. I let out a long, slow breath. A sigh that I'd been practicing my whole life. The sigh of the man who gives in. The sigh of the man who always pays. I let my shoulders slump. I made my eyes look old and defeated and full of the weariness that they both expected to see. "All right," I said. My voice was just a low rumble of resignation. "All right." Maya's breath hitched. Ryan's plastic smile froze waiting. $100,000, I said as if tasting the words. And that's it. That's the last of it. No more surprises. "Yes," Maya gasped, scrambling to her feet. "Yes, Daddy, I promise this is it. This pays the hotel. This gets us through. Just till Monday, like Ryan said." Ryan was nodding his face, a mask of sincerity. "Absolutely, Terrence. This makes everything perfect. This is the last piece." "I swear." I looked at Maya. I looked at Ryan. I let the silence stretch out just long enough for them to start to panic again. Then I nodded slowly. "All right," I said again. I'll do it. I can't let my daughter. I can't let her day be ruined." The relief in that room was explosive. It was a physical thing. It was as if I'd just pulled the pin on a grenade of pure joy. Oh my God, Daddy, thank you." Maya flew at me. She threw her arms around my neck, sobbing again. But these weren't the tears of fear or shame. These were tears of pure, unadulterated triumph. She was giddy. She was hugging me so hard I could barely breathe. "I knew it. I knew you wouldn't let me down. I knew it. Thank you, thank you, thank you." I just stood there. I didn't hug her back. I just let her. My hands stayed at my sides. Ryan was laughing. A short, sharp, relieved bark of a laugh. He clapped his hands together once hard. "Yes, you. You are a lifesaver, a legend." He came over and he clapped me on the back. Hard. "I told you, baby," he said to Maya, pulling her off me and spinning her around. "I told you your dad was a good man. I told you he was one of the greats." He was beaming, his entire body thrumming with energy. The con man who had just closed the biggest deal of his life. "You will not regret this, Terrence," he said, pointing a finger at me, his eyes shining. "Monday, 2 p.m. I'm going to make you so rich you're not going to know what to do with it." I can't get the money before Saturday," I said, playing my part. The bank. It's the rest of my 401k. It takes time." "Saturday is perfect," Ryan boomed. "Saturday is divine. The wedding, it's kismet. So, how do you want me to?" "The hotel," Maya chimed in, wiping her eyes, her face already glowing with the image of her perfect wedding. "The manager, Mr. Henderson. He said he needs a cashier's check before the ceremony starts. He said he needs it in his hand, or or he won't let the guests in. A cashier's check, I repeated, for $100,000. Yes, Ryan said, clapping me on the shoulder again, that fake familiar gesture that made my skin crawl. You bring it to the wedding tea. You can be the hero. You can walk and hand him that check and save the day. He was already spinning the story, making me the supporting character in his grand drama. Okay, I said. I let my voice sound shaky. Okay, I'll be there, with the check before the ceremony. I love you, Daddy. Maya squealed and she hugged me again. This time I patted her back, just twice. A light, empty gesture. I should go, I said, pulling away. I have to call the bank, make the arrangements. Of course, Ryan said, practically pushing me toward the door. He was all energy now, all forward motion. You do what you have to do, T. You're a good man. A good man. We will see you. Saturday, I repeated. I walked out of the apartment. I got in the glass elevator. I rode it all the way down to the lobby. I could still hear them laughing, celebrating as the door slid shut. I walked out into the humid Atlanta air. The valet brought my truck. I handed him a $5 bill. I got in, started the engine. The low, honest rumble of the V8 felt good. I hadn't just given them $100,000. I had given them hope. The false hope. The one thing that would guarantee they would both be at that hotel on Saturday. Waiting. Desperate. I had just bought my ticket to the final act, and I knew with a cold, hard certainty it was going to be a hell of a show. I went to the bank on Friday afternoon, the day before the wedding. My local branch where I've been banking for 35 years. Not some glass tower downtown. The teller, a nice young woman named Keisha, smiled at me. Mr. Terrence, back so soon? Don't tell me you're buying another wedding. Her smile was kind, but her eyes were curious. She was the one who had handled the first transfer, the one for $150,000. She had seen the name on the account. She knew what Nina's legacy meant. Something like that, Keisha? I said, my voice quiet. I need to do one more. I need a cashier's check. I slid the withdrawal slip under the glass. For $100,000. Her smile didn't just fade. It fell. She looked at the paper, then up at me. Her eyes were full of a question she was too polite to ask. That's the rest of it, Mr. Terrence. From your retirement account. You know there's a significant tax penalty for this. I know, I said. Just make it out to St. Regis Hotels, Atlanta. No, I corrected myself, thinking fast. That's what they do. A cashier's check is like cash, it just needs to be valid. Just make it a cashier's check, payable to me. I'll endorse it over when I get there. She nodded slowly, her professionalism kicking in. Okay, Mr. Terrence, it'll just take a few minutes. I need you to sign these forms. I signed away the last of my 401k. The final piece of my 40 years of work. The final act of the fool I was pretending to be. She went to the back. 5 minutes later, she returned. She didn't hand me a stack of cash. She handed me one single folded piece of paper. Blue and white with important-looking watermarks. A cashier's check. It was just a piece of paper. But it felt heavy. Heavy as a tombstone. Here you go, Mr. Terrence. Her voice was soft. Thank you, Keisha, I said. I folded the check. I put it in the inside breast pocket of my jacket. The left one. The one right over my heart. You have a good weekend, Mr. Terrence, she said. It didn't sound like a polite farewell. It sounded like a prayer. You too, I said. I walked out of the bank with $100,000 in my pocket. I had done exactly what I'd promised. I had the bait. That night, I went back to my house, the little brick house in Collier Heights. It was so quiet. You could hear the old refrigerator hum. I didn't turn on the TV. I walked down the hall to my bedroom, our bedroom. It still smelled a little like her, like lavender soap and old books. I hadn't changed much. Her side of the closet was still her side. Her clothes were gone, donated to her church, but her things, her real things, were still there. I opened the closet door. I reached up way to the back of the top shelf behind a stack of old quilts. My fingers touched wood. I pulled it down. It was a small box made of dark cherry wood. Not fancy, just simple, polished smooth by decades of her hands resting on it. This was her treasure box. I sat on the edge of our bed. The mattress sagged under my weight in the same spot it always had. I held the box in my lap. I opened it. The smell of cedar and thyme wafted up. Inside, there wasn't much. A dried, crumbling rose from our 25th anniversary. A small, tarnished silver locket with a tiny black and white baby picture of Maya, all gums and big eyes. And underneath it all, a single folded envelope. It was made of that thick, creamy paper, the kind you can't buy anymore. On the front, in her beautiful, elegant handwriting, it just said, "For Maya." I knew this letter. I had been its keeper for 5 years. Nina wrote it in the hospital in her last few weeks. The weeks when the medicine wasn't working anymore and all we had left was time. Her hand was weak, her writing a little shaky, but her will was iron. "Don't you give this to her just because I'm gone, Terrence," she'd told me, her voice a thin, papery whisper. But her eyes were sharp. "Don't you dare. She's not ready. Don't give it to her at her graduation. Don't give it to her on her wedding day. Not just any wedding day." "When Nina," I'd asked, my throat thick, holding her small, cool hand, "when do I give it to her?" You give it to her, T. When she needs it, when she's finally ready to hear it, give it to her. On the day she finds a man who truly values her. Not her pretty face. Not her ambition. Lord, that ambition. She'd coughed a dry, painful sound. Give it to her when she finds a man who respects her heart. I'd promised. And I had almost broken that promise. I had almost given this to her. And to Ryan. I'd almost given this sacred thing to him. I realized sitting there on the bed that Nina, as always, had been right. This was the day she needed it, not because she had found the right man, but because she had so profoundly, so disastrously found the wrong one. This was the day she needed to remember who she was before all this, before the apartments and the brands and the lies. I didn't read the letter. It wasn't for me. But I'd seen her writing the first line, her brow furrowed in concentration. "My dearest daughter, on the day you find someone who truly respects you," I carefully, so carefully, picked up the envelope. I put it inside the empty, polished cherrywood box. I closed the lid. I now had 2 gifts ready for the wedding. One in my left pocket was a $100,000 lie. The other in my right hand was the priceless, unbearable truth. I was going to deliver both. So I drove to the wedding. I got there early, just like they'd asked. The St. Regis lobby was even more ridiculous than I remembered. There were flowers everywhere, massive white arrangements that must have cost a fortune, perfuming the air till it was thick and hard to breathe. I had the cashier's check in my left pocket. I had Nina's cherrywood box in my right. My plan, my original plan, was to give them both. I was going to wait for the quiet moment right before Maya walked down the aisle. I was going to hand Ryan the check, the lie. And I was going to hand Maya the box, the truth. I was going to let her read Nina's words, and then I was going to watch. I was going to see if maybe, just maybe, my real daughter was still in there. To see if Nina's truth could fight Ryan's lie. It was a fool's hope, but it was the only one I had left. I walked towards the main ballroom. I saw a flurry of white. It was Maya inside posing for a photographer. She looked beautiful. For a second, just a second, my heart ached. My little girl. I took a step forward, and then she stepped in front of me. Mrs. Adler, Ryan's mother, the sainted one. She was in a silver dress so tight it looked painful, and she was holding a glass of champagne. She looked me up and down, not like a person, like like I was a piece of furniture that was in the wrong place. "Oh," she said, her voice a dry, bored drawl. "You're Terrence, the father." "Wonderful." She took a sip of her champagne. Could you perhaps wait in the side lounge just over there?" She gestured vaguely with her flute. We're just taking the immediate family photos right now. You understand? Immediate family. I'm her father. I paid for the dress she's wearing. I paid for the floor she's standing on. But I am not immediate family." I just nodded. What else was there to do? I went to the side lounge, a small dark room with no windows, and I waited and waited. I sat there for 45 minutes. I could hear the music, I could hear the laughter, I could hear the sound of champagne corks popping. They had forgotten me. They had put the burden in a closet and forgotten all about him. Finally, I stood up. Enough. I wasn't going to be hidden. I was going to find Maya, give them the check, give her the box, and just get this over with. I walked out of the dark side lounge back into the bright floral-scented lobby, and that's when the ballroom door burst open. It was Maya. She wasn't coming to find me. She wasn't worried. She was furious. "Dad, what in the hell are you doing out here?" She hissed, her face red. Ryan was right behind her, looking panicked. I was waiting, Maya," I said, "like Mrs. Adler told me to." "I told you to wait in the lounge," she snapped. Not out here where everyone can see you, Ryan's mother. All his guests." "Maya," I said, my patience gone. "I have the check." "I don't care," she said, and I knew she meant it. You're making a scene, Mrs. Adler. She's upset. She said your suit." She hesitated. She looked at my suit, the suit I wore to bury her mother. "She said your suit it's ruining the color palette of the photos." And that was it. That was the moment, the click. The suit I wore to mourn my wife, the suit Nina bought me, was ruining their color palette. I looked at my daughter, her beautiful, furious, empty face, and I realized this $100,000. It wasn't a loan. It wasn't a bridge to Monday. It wasn't even a bailout. It was ransom. It was the price I had to pay for the privilege of being insulted, the price for being told I wasn't immediate family, the price for being hidden in a dark room, the price for ruining their aesthetic just by existing. And as I stood there with Nina's letter in one pocket and $100,000 of my stolen future in the other, I made a new plan. The old Terrence, the fool who paid, he died right there on that expensive rug. And the new Terrence, he wasn't paying another damn cent. That's when Maya took a step closer, her voice dropping to that sharp, ugly whisper. "Go away, Dad," she hissed. "You're ruining the atmosphere." And that's when I smiled. I'm in my truck in the parking garage, but I can picture it all. I know what's happening up there right at that moment. I can see Ryan, that slick, panicked boy, dropping to his knees on that expensive Persian rug. His hands that have never done a day of real labor, scrambling, clawing at the scraps of blue and white paper. No, he's whispering, his voice cracking. He's trying to piece them together like a child with a broken toy. His hands are shaking. Maya is just standing there, frozen. Her face is a mask of pure, stunned disbelief. Then the anger comes roaring back. She hasn't understood. Not yet. She thinks I just insulted her. She doesn't get the consequences. "Forget it, Ryan," she snaps, pulling at his arm. Just leave it. He's pathetic. He's just trying to ruin my day. We don't need him. We don't need his stupid money." And that's when Ryan, this smooth, calm, polished man, finally explodes. He springs up from the floor. He turns on her. His face isn't white anymore. It's a deep, ugly, terrifying red. His eyes are bulging. "We don't need his money," he screams. The string quartet stops. A champagne flute shatters on the marble floor. Every single guest, all those important people, they all turn. The lobby is dead silent except for Ryan's voice echoing off the walls. "We don't need it," he roars again, getting right in her face. Are you insane? You stupid little girl. Do you have any idea what you've done?" Maya shrinks back terrified. This is a side of him she's never seen. The real side. The animal beneath the suit. Ryan, you're scaring me. What are you talking about? He's just throwing a tantrum. We'll just pay the hotel. Later. Pay them later, he screams laughing. A high-pitched, hysterical, terrifying sound. Pay them later with what Maya, with your good looks, with my charm. He grabs his own hair, pulling at it, looking around wildly. He spots the hotel manager, Mr. Henderson, a man in a crisp tuxedo, who is already walking quickly toward them, his face a grim, hard mask. Ryan points a shaking finger at him. You tell this idiot what the deal was. Mr. Henderson doesn't flinch. He stops a respectful 5 feet away. His voice is cold, professional, and carries across the silent lobby. Mrs. Adler, Mr. Adler, the arrangement was very clear. Maya looks at him confused. Arrangement? What? What arrangement? We paid the deposit. The first deposit, ma'am, Mr. Henderson says, his voice like ice. The second check, the one for $150,000, was returned by the bank. Insufficient funds. Maya's face crumples. No. Ryan, you said that was a mistake. And then, Mr. Henderson continues, his voice cutting through her excuse, the third check, the one that was supposed to replace it, also failed to clear. He's not just talking to them. He's talking to everyone, to all their guests, to Mrs. Adler. We were assured, Mr. Adler, you assured me, that your father-in-law, Mr. Washington, would be arriving today, before the ceremony, with a cashier's check for the full remaining balance, $100,000. He pauses. He looks at the scraps of paper on the floor. He looks at Ryan's red, sweating face. I see that he has arrived. He turns to Maya. Her mouth is open. She's gasping like a fish pulled from the water. Ma'am, Mr. Henderson says, his voice devoid of all sympathy. The arrangement was clear. No payment, no party, no ceremony, nothing. He raises his voice just slightly to address the stunned, silent crowd. The Adler wedding is canceled. I'm sitting in my truck, the engine idling, the air conditioning blowing cold air on my face. I don't have to be in that lobby to know exactly what's happening next. I've seen all the players. I know all their moves. The scene I'm picturing, it's as clear as a movie in my head. The lobby is dead silent. You can hear 100 people breathing. The manager, Mr. Henderson, has just said the wedding is canceled. Maya is just frozen, a statue in a white dress. Ryan is vibrating. He's a cornered animal. And then, click, clack, click, clack. The sound of expensive, angry high heels on polished marble. A path parts through the crowd of stunned guests. And there she is, Mrs. Adler, Ryan's sainted mother. She's not looking at the manager. She's not looking at the guests. She's looking at her son Ryan with a look of, it's not disappointment. It's pure, undiluted contempt. Well, Ryan, she says, her voice as dry and cold as a winter wind. You've really done it this time. This is, even for you, this is a spectacular failure. Ryan, he's a drowning man. He sees his last best lifeboat. He stumbles toward her. Mom, he gasps. His voice is a desperate, whining, ugly sound, the voice of a spoiled boy. Mom, you have to help me. You have to just cover it just for a few days. I swear I'll pay you back. I have a deal. It's closing on Monday. I swear to God. Mrs. Adler doesn't even blink. She takes a small, delicate sip from her champagne flute, which she is, of course, still holding. Pay me back, Ryan, she says with a small, cruel laugh. Pay me back? With what? With more of your big deals, like the one in crypto, or was it that exclusive real estate in Miami? She shakes her head. No, I don't think so. Mom, please, he begs. He actually reaches for her arm. She pulls away like he's something filthy. Don't touch me. I told you, Ryan. I told you after I paid off that bookie in Atlantic City. I told you after I paid off your second gambling debt. That was it. That was the last time. I am done. She looks him up and down. I gave you a very, very simple path. A lifeline. I found you. This girl. She waves a dismissive, beringed hand in Maya's direction. This girl with her old simple working man father. A father with a paid-for house and a 40-year pension. A perfect, soft, stupid target. Mom, stop, Ryan whispers, his face white with a new, different horror. I told you, Mrs. Adler continues, her voice relentless. You get the money from the old man. You secure the family funds. You settle your disgusting little debts. And then, and only then, would we welcome you back into the family business. She smiles. It's a terrible sight. I will not throw good money after bad. She turns away from her son who is now completely, totally, and utterly broken. He's just standing there, defeated. And she turns to Maya. She walks right up to my daughter, Maya, who has been standing there mute, listening to this confession. Mrs. Adler, she just looks at Maya. She looks at the $20,000 dress I paid for. She looks at the expensive hair I paid for. She looks at this perfect, beautiful, expensive thing that I paid for, and she laughs. Just a small, sharp puff of air through her nose. Well, dear, she says, her voice full of a dry, bored amusement. I guess you failed. Maya just blinks. What? You see, Mrs. Adler turns to leave. She's bored now. The show is over. I suppose you failed in your one and only job. She starts to walk away. Maya she's trembling. Her entire world, the floor, the universe is collapsing under her feet. She latches onto that one word, the only word she can understand. Job. Mrs. Adler stops. She turns back, annoyed. Job, Maya whispers again. Her voice is a tiny, confused, childlike sound. I don't understand. What job? Ryan. What is she talking about? She turns to Ryan, and Ryan is gone. The cornered animal is gone. The charming broker is gone. The begging son is gone. All that's left is the monster. Maya just stood there, shaking her head, her mind unable to process the words. Job, she whispered again, turning from Mrs. Adler to Ryan. Ryan, what is she talking about? You love me, right? You said, you told me you loved me. Ryan, he just looked at her, and he started to laugh. It was not a human sound. It was the sound of a rabid animal, a high, terrible, giggling shriek. Love you, he screamed, his voice cracking. Love you! He lunged forward, and for a second I thought he was going to hit her. He grabbed her by her bare, expensive shoulders, his fingers digging into her skin. You think this was about love, he roared, shaking her. The $20,000 veil, the one she'd been admiring, fell from her hair and landed on the floor like a dead thing. This This was a job, you thick girl. It was a deal, a transaction. Maya was sobbing, her face a mask of pure terror. No. No. Ryan. Stop. Stop, he screamed. I am ruined. Do you get that? I am dead. He let go of her and started pacing, pulling at his own hair, his movements jerky and panicked. He was talking to everyone now, to the guests, to his mother, to the walls. That big deal on Monday. There is no deal, there is. There is no money, there is nothing. I don't owe $200,000. I owe $250,000 to a loan shark in Miami, a man who breaks legs. He pointed a shaking, accusing finger at Maya. And the deadline to pay him, it wasn't Monday. It wasn't till the end of the month. It was tonight. It was 9 p.m. tonight. He let out another one of those terrible giggling sobs. This wedding, this stupid, expensive wedding, it was my last chance. It was my payment plan, and I needed your father's money. And the final awful, brutal truth, laid bare for everyone to see. And as if on cue, Mr. Henderson, the hotel manager, stepped forward once more. He wasn't alone this time. He was flanked by two large men in dark suits with earpieces. Hotel security. Mr. Henderson's face was no longer polite. It was bored. He was done. This was just cleanup. He looked at Ryan. Mr. Adler. Ryan just stared at him, his chest heaving. The credit card. The one you placed on file. For incidentals, Mr. Henderson said. The flowers, the champagne, the orchestra. Ryan just nodded dumbly. It has, I regret to inform you, been declined. Mr. Henderson just looked at his two security guards. He didn't even have to say a word. Sir, madam, one of the guards said, his voice low and firm. We are going to have to ask you and your guests to please vacate the premises. I sat in my truck in the concrete silence of the parking garage. The engine was idling a low, steady rumble. I just waited. It didn't take long. 5 minutes, maybe. The elevator doors slid open and the first guests spilled out. They didn't look happy. They looked confused, annoyed, angry. They were talking animatedly, looking at their phones. I saw men in tuxedos jabbing at their screens, calling for Ubers. I saw women in long gowns holding them up as they walked, their faces a mask of indignation. The perfect wedding, the perfect image. It was all just over. The elevator doors opened again, and this time it was her, Maya. She wasn't the glowing bride. She was a wreck. Her perfect hair was falling down. Her veil was gone. She was barefoot, running, stumbling barefoot on the dirty, oil-stained concrete of the parking garage. Her $20,000 white dress, the one I paid for, was dragging on the filthy ground, catching on the grime. She saw my truck. Her head snapped up. Her eyes, they were wild, a kind of wildness I had never seen. She ran right at my truck. Bang, bang, bang. Her small manicured fists pounded on the passenger side window. She was sobbing, but it wasn't a sob of sadness. It was a scream, a shriek of pure animal rage. Dad! I could hear her muffled through the thick glass. Open the door, Dad, open this door. Bang, bang, bang. You did this. She screamed, her face pressed right up against the glass. Mascara was streaming down her cheeks in black, ugly rivers. You You ruin, you ruined everything. You ruined my life. I let her scream. I let her pound on the glass until her knuckles must have been raw. I just watched. I watched the makeup run. I watched the raw, ugly rage twist her beautiful face into something I didn't recognize. Then slowly I pressed the button on my armrest. The electric window of my F-150 hummed, sliding down smoothly into the door. The sound of her screaming instantly filled the cab. It was shrill, desperate. You ruined my life. My life. How could you do this to me? She was right in my face now, panting, spitting her eyes wild. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. My voice was low and it was cold and it cut right through her. No, Maya, I said. She stopped mid-scream. The sudden quiet from me shocked her. I didn't do this, I said, looking her dead in the eye. You did this to yourself. You did this the moment you decided a car was worth more than your father's name. You did this. The moment you decided your mother's memory was just a deposit for a party. She stared at me, her mouth open, her face working, trying to form more angry words, but she was confused. I reached over. I didn't reach for her. I reached for the passenger seat. I picked up the small, dark, polished cherrywood box. I held it out to her. She flinched like I was going to hit her. She stared at the box, confused. This, I said, my voice as hard and clear as I'd ever heard it. This is your wedding gift from me. Her eyes darted from the box to my face. What? The money, the check. I almost smiled. That wasn't a gift, Maya. That was a business transaction, a test. And you failed. You and your partner, you failed the negotiation. I pushed the box into her hand. Her fingers, cold and trembling, closed around the wood. That, I said, is from your mother. And without waiting for a word, I pressed the button. The window hummed and the glass began to rise, cutting her off, sealing me back inside my quiet, honest truck. I watched her through the glass. Her screaming stopped. She was just standing there, barefoot in the oil-stained grime, clutching that small wooden box. She looked at the rising window, then at her hand. Slowly, her shaking fingers fumbled with the simple clasp. She opened it. She saw the single folded cream-colored envelope. She saw the familiar, elegant handwriting. For Maya. Her hands were trembling so badly she could barely get it out. She unfolded the single page. She stood there in the ruins of her $20,000 dress, in the wreckage of her perfect day, and she began to read her mother's words. I couldn't hear her, but I saw the anger just dissolve. The rage in her face crumpled. Her shoulders, her whole body just heaved. It wasn't a cry of anger, it was a sob, a deep, gut-wrenching, soul-breaking sob of realization. She didn't fall. She collapsed. She just folded in on herself, sinking to her knees, then all the way down onto the filthy concrete, howling. Not like a spoiled child, like a lost one. As I put the truck in gear, I glanced at the lobby doors. The 2 security guards were walking Ryan out. He wasn't fighting, he just looked numb. They didn't just let him go. They walked him right to an Atlanta police cruiser that was pulling up to the curb. I didn't watch anymore. I put my foot on the gas. I drove out of the garage into the bright, hot Atlanta sunshine. For the first time in 5 years, I felt peace. I knew Nina would be proud. Tomorrow I'd go to the bank. I'd cancel that cashier's check. It was my money again. And then I was going to drive to Morehouse. I had a scholarship to set up. In Nina's name. My relationship with Maya. It wasn't dead. But it was broken. And if it was ever going to be rebuilt, it would have to be from the foundation up. This time, on a foundation of truth. Not on money. Not ever again. This story teaches us that true love and respect cannot be bought, sold, or co-signed for. Unconditional sacrifice without mutual respect isn't love, it's enablement. It shows that we must teach our children the value of integrity, not just the image of success. Sometimes the hardest act of love is to stop paying for illusions, to let the false world crumble, so that something real built on a foundation of truth and self-respect finally has a chance to grow. True worth is in our character, not our credit score. What would you have done if you were in Terrence's shoes, and have you ever had to make a hard choice to teach a loved one a painful lesson? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.